Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Legally Speaking with Rest the Case. Today, we're diving into a really important conversation: legal rights in domestic violence cases in India. Domestic violence is a harsh reality for many, but what often gets overlooked is that there are strong legal protections in place to help survivors seek justice and safety. The problem? Many people don't know their rights or where to start. That's why we have a special guest with us today, Advocate Pranay, who is an experienced lawyer with a strong background in civil law, family disputes, check bounce cases, child custody, and matrimonial matters. As a member of the Pune Bar Association, he's been providing expert legal advice and representation for years. Today, he will help us break down the legal protections available, how survivors can take action, and what steps can be taken to ensure justice is served. So, first of all, welcome, sir, to our podcast. I would
Hello.
like to start the conversation by you giving us an overview of the laws in India and how have they evolved over the years? What has been the evolution of domestic violence laws?
As we see, this act was enacted in the year 2005, and initially, the victim of domestic violence were completely relied on the sections of IPC like Section 498A,
Okay.
wherein they were only able to file a FIR against the respondents, whoever has caused them domestic violence.
Mhm.
But after the enactment of this act, now they are getting so many reliefs like residence order, protection order, maintenance order. So initially, all the victims of domestic violence were relying on the IPC sections, as I said earlier, and there was a need, and as per Article 15 of the Constitution of Act, government has the power to bring any new law for, especially for the protection of the women. So they have used it at the correct time, I must say.
Okay. And so how does this law, which is protection of women against domestic violence, differ from other laws that take consideration of domestic violence? Is there any difference in those two?
Yeah, definitely there is a difference between Domestic Violence Act and another laws. As we see that the name of this act is Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act 2005,
Yeah.
and the word used is women.
Yeah.
So whoever who is married, or if any girl is staying with her boyfriend or parents, whoever is staying in share household or are in domestic relationship, can file a case under Section 12 of the DV Act, and wherein this act is made or enacted in the year 2005, and after that they all are getting the reliefs like maintenance
Okay.
and protection order.
Okay. So, like you mentioned, this act is not just limited to a married household, but it can be extended to any shared household. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Even
any
if
women,
even if a woman is living with her parents, she can also go and complain if she's
definitely.
facing- Okay. Okay. That's interesting to know.
Even in-laws can file a case against daughter-in-law.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Acha.
mother-in-law
That is-
like.
Okay, that is interesting. I did not know that. What are the forms of domestic violence recognized under Indian law? And do they go beyond physical abuse also?
Yeah, initially domestic violence meaning for layman was like only physical violence.
Yeah.
But there the definition of domestic violence is discussed in Section 3 of the said act. We speaks about domestic violence and its types. So there are 4 types of domestic violence, like physical violence, economic violence, sexual violence,
Right.
and mental violence.
Okay. Okay. And what are the immediate remedies that are available to a victim of domestic violence? So, what can be done immediately?
If at all, if any woman is suffering any kind of domestic violence from any of the respondents, so that would be husband, mother, even father or boyfriend, and if she is suffering from any type of violence, she immediately has to file a complaint to police station, or even she can go directly to the protection orders
Right.
to get the protection order to protection officers.
Right. Okay. And does this differ from state to state, or is it same all across India?
It's same across. It's same across.
Okay. And how can victims seek protection orders, residence orders, or monetary relief under this act?
She has to file a case before magistrate.
Okay.
Or she can go directly to protection officer, wherein he is supposed to put it everything like what incidents occurred with her. That is called as domestic incident report. It is DIR.
Right.
So a woman can file directly application before a magistrate, or even any other person can also file a case on behalf of her
Okay.
if required.
Okay. And when we come to the role of a police officer, what role do they play in these cases? And are they obligated to act immediately when they receive a complaint?
Uh, Actually, police officers play a vital role for execution of this law, if we see.
Right. Right.
As I said earlier, for execution of this law or for the enforcement, there are magistrates, there are protection officers, there are shelter homes,
Right.
and police officers, police mercenaries. So these are completely different authorities
Right.
who are required and who has a vital role for execution of this law in society.
Okay. Okay. And is there anything where these officers have to be women, or is there any such rule there?
No, it's not mandatory that if the women go to police station, then the complaint has to be written by women only.
Okay.
Any police officer can play his role.
Okay. Okay. And could you elaborate the process of filing an FIR, and how do you do it in domestic violence cases?
See, as I said earlier, whenever the victim was suffering from any type of violence, she used to move her application, or she has to approach to the police station. Then they used to get or lodge a FIR against in-laws under section 498. And if at all women is suffering from any type of violence, like as I discussed under section 3A,
Yeah.
in some cases she might only feel or only threatened by in-laws, or if she is deprived of her right of being maintained by husband, she has to move an application under section 12 of the Protection of Act 2005 before magistrate, and then seek reliefs
Right.
as per section 17, 18, 19, 20.
Okay. And when we talk about the rights of victims here, what kind of legal rights do they have? So I think you mentioned about them having a shelter and access to that. Apart from this, what other rights or what other things does a court provide a victim with?
Most importantly, if the woman is not working and doesn't have any source of income, then she can claim maintenance under this act.
Okay. Okay.
As per section 20. And section 17 and 19 deals with residence order.
Okay.
So in some cases, if the woman is staying with in-laws, then she may get order from the honorable court that she will not be evicted from the said house.
Okay. Okay.
And another section about section 19 of the DV Act, in which respondents are directed to provide the same type of residence, alternate accommodation for her.
Okay. Which they were earlier living in, similar type.
Yeah.
Okay. And when it comes to legal aid, so for example, someone is not able to afford legal fees, is there any kind of avenue for that?
Yeah, at every courts there is a completely different department like legal aid.
Yeah.
Wherein the advocates who are empaneled there get opportunity to fight a case on behalf of the victim of DV Act.
And does this also then affect child custody? So for example, if in a household there has been any kind of domestic violence, then does this also extend to the child custody, where then the custody automatically goes to the woman?
No, it doesn't go automatically. Actually, section 21 of the DV Act speaks about the access.
Right.
If at all any of the parent is wish to claim for custody, then he has to file or she has to file a different case.
Okay, so that is separate.
But it deals with access, temporary access, and custody of the child.
Okay.
Temporary.
And talking about now here, can a victim pursue both criminal charges and relief under Domestic Violence Act? And they do both.
At the same time, both cases are going on. As per my experience,
right.
Women, when she is was harassed by in-laws, then she, in a number of cases, she has filed FIR under section 498, earlier IPC, and she also claims residence order, protection order, maintenance order under this DV Act.
Okay, okay. So
Yeah,
it can happen simultaneously.
yeah.
Okay. And if you can walk us through some of, in your experience, what are some of the common challenges that victims face, while going through these domestic violence cases or these laws?
Actually, any litigants, I must say, not only the victim in the domestic violence, but any litigants who are in, yeah, who
Yeah.
are staying in India are facing the same problem. That is the old burden on
Hmm.
the cases on
Correct.
judiciary,
Right.
and this is the main
Yeah.
difficulty where she gets the order or reliefs after a while.
So even if they file a case immediately and the police say take action, but the case is probably going on for a very long time and
Long
justice is
times.
not received on
Yeah,
time.
as per the section in the DV Act, it has to be completed within 3 months.
Hmm.
But it's
But
practically not possible.
doesn't happen like that.
Doesn't happen. Doesn't happen.
And do you think social stigma, family pressure influences a victim's decision to report this in the first place?
Yeah,
It happens.
but the number of cases now which we see in courts are increasing day by day because of the awareness of that,
Right, right.
awareness of the rights which
Okay.
women is getting nowadays.
Okay.
So the
So
time has
you think
changed
it's
now.
slowly reducing the stigma, or people are coming forward now and reporting these cases?
Yeah.
Okay. And are there any provisions to protect victims from any retaliation by the accused during legal proceedings?
If at all any of the respondent, if
Hmm.
we take the example that if the protection order is passed in favor of the victim,
Yeah,
that is applicant, and if any of the respondent breach that order,
right.
then that victim has to file NC against that person, and
Hmm.
after the breaching of this order, then she has to file one different criminal MA
Okay,
application before the same judge,
right.
and under section 31 of the act.
Okay,
So there is one year punishment for the breaching of the protection order.
okay. And in this whole scenario, how do social workers or NGOs or these organizations play a role in supporting domestic violence victims?
There are various NGOs in
Hmm.
society we see that
Yeah,
who specially works for the rights of the women,
right,
and they play a vital role in
right,
giving justice to
right.
the victim of the DVA, domestic
Especially,
violence.
I am assuming those who don't come from a very good background, or they come from, economically they are not as strong.
Yeah, that helps.
Yeah. And now let's touch upon a broader perspective. Right now we've been talking about domestic violence from women's perspective, and even our law just speaks about women. But as we know, in today's world, we're looking at a more gender neutral world. So, are there any specific provisions for male victims of domestic violence and abuse in India? What does the law say about that?
Actually, as the name of this act is Protection of
Yeah,
Women,
yeah,
and there is one case of Honorable High Court of
right.
Madhusudan Bharadwaj,
Hmm.
wherein it was held by Honorable High Court that now the time has come to see who is the real sufferer of the domestic violence. So,
Right.
in number of cases, even males are a victim of domestic violence.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
personally, I think that there should be one act
Hmm.
needs to be enacted for men also.
Correct.
As we see on social medias nowadays,
Yeah.
so many people are causing suicides and these all things, but now they are focused, means they have been brought to the before media and before
Yeah.
society,
Yeah.
but both requires the same thing, I think.
Right,
I
right.
guess.
So, then we also talk about LGBTQ plus individuals, where they also get kind of lost in this whole discussion because the law only talks about women and women's protection. So whether it's men or it's any other members of the society, they're kind of getting overlooked in this whole scenario. So, according to you, do you think there's a need for reform of these domestic violence laws?
Yeah, definitely. As I said that women word is used in this
Yeah,
act.
yeah,
So whoever is staying along with boyfriend also, she is
yeah,
also she also can file a complaint
yeah.
under section this 12 of the
Hmm.
DV Act. So likewise, nowadays everybody is talking about equality,
Correct.
gender equality. So
Yeah.
then there has to be some laws for others also, I guess.
Correct. I mean, that's a whole another conversation about how so many of our laws need to be more gender neutral, and we need to work upon a lot of such laws, not just
Yeah.
domestic violence, but I think lot of there are so many laws which specify a gender, and I think should be completely gender neutral. But I think that's another podcast that we will do
Yeah,
on another day.
definitely.
And then, do you think what advice would you give as a lawyer, um, if of someone who's experiencing domestic violence? What is the first step they should do to seek legal help?
If at all, if anybody is suffering from any type of violence, then first of all, personally, I think that she should try to resolve the issue in the house only,
Okay.
because it takes some time to get reliefs. And if at all the violence continues, then definitely she has to raise the voice and file a case. She
Right.
should not think about anything what society will say,
Hmm.
because she is the only one who is suffering. No one is going to suffer. So definitely she has to raise the voice at that time.
Right, right. And how can family members or anyone nearby support these victims, do you think, in this scenario?
If if the victim of DV, domestic violence, is not able
Hmm.
by some or the other reason to file and to lodge any complaint,
Yeah.
then any relative, any friend can file a case on behalf of her.
Okay.
And for proving the case in
Yeah.
before law, then
Yeah.
they has to come as a witness.
Right.
Then that will be called as a real support for her. Then.
Right, right, agreed. And according to you, how do you think legal professionals or judiciary can ensure more effective implementation of these laws? What do you think additionally needs to be done?
For effective enforcement of this law,
Yeah.
the time which nowadays we all are taking
Yeah,
for giving relief, every authority, including police, including judiciary, that should be reduced.
right.
Then only she will get justice in time.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. And could you share some success stories where, like these domestic violence survivors have gotten proper justice and they've been provided?
Yeah, in one of my case in the year 2016, I filed one case on behalf of the women
Okay.
who was around 75 years old,
Okay.
and she was separated from her husband
Hmm.
from 1964.
Okay.
So she married in 1962. She gave birth to a baby girl,
Right.
and that was the reason because of which her husband banished her from the her family, her house,
Okay.
and she was left with no option but to stay with her relatives,
Hmm.
brother and another sisters.
Hmm.
And I filed this case in the year 2016 under this DV Act,
Hmm.
though this act was enacted in the year 2005 and came into force in 2006,
Hmm.
but it has the retrospective effect.
Right, right.
So after filing that case, then the matter was resolved,
Okay.
and that husband paid her 20 lakhs rupees
Okay.
as a compromise amount or lump sum amount for
Yeah,
her.
yeah. That's
So she got justice after 52 years.
That's really amazing. I mean, it's good to see. We were talking about how, judiciary takes time, but this is an example
Yeah,
of
another example.
there are cases where, you can get justice
Yeah.
even after many years. So it doesn't
But
matter.
I must say that everybody should have belief and faith in judiciary,
Yes, that's for sure.
because that is the right place where you will get justice.
That's true. That is very rightly said. And with that, I mean, this was my last question to you. Do you have anything else to add? Any ending thoughts, closing thoughts on this?
Whoever is suffering from any type of violence, they should raise their voice. They
Yeah.
should not keep quiet
Right.
as what the society will think.
Yeah.
Because as per section 2A of the said act,
Hmm.
aggrieved women, whoever stayed with respondents
Right.
under same share household or domestic relationship, they are the aggrieved woman.
Hmm.
And even the child, if the child is minor and they are staying with her mother, then and if she doesn't have any type of source of income, then she's left with no option but to file a case.
Right.
And this act is the blessing definitely for the women.
Right.
And one more thing I would like to add, as the purpose of this enactment of this act was to safeguard the rights of the victim of the domestic violence, and it was supposed to be used as a shield. But in some of the cases, it is used as a spear now. So there is a misuse of the laws also. So this should be taken into consideration. There should not be a misuse of law.
Correct. Both is equally important. Correct. I completely agree with you. And on that note, we come to the end of today's discussion. This has been such an important discussion, and we hope it has given you a clearer understanding of the legal rights available to survivors of domestic violence in India. A big thank you to you, Advocate Pranay, for sharing their expertise and breaking down these legal complexities in such a simple and practical way. If you or someone is facing domestic violence, please don't hesitate to reach out for help. Legal support is there and you're not alone. If this episode resonated with you, share it with someone who might need it. And of course, subscribe for more conversations that matter. Take care, stay informed, and remember, knowledge is power. Thank you.